Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us here in Malaysia. Special hello to everyone who's tuning in from around the world. My name is Duncan Kay from the Think City Institute, and welcome to the second in the series of webinars, Dollars and Cents, which are an introduction to the conservation and economics of our shared cultural heritage. These are a result of a collaboration between Think City Institute and ECOMOS Malaysia, the ECOMOS in Malaysia's emerging professionals group. And this series is here with a purpose. ECOMOS and Think City Institute have teamed up to develop an online course, which is being very kindly supported with a grant from City Foundation. This is now underway, and it's great because we've got, I think it's 96 young professionals from all around the world, and I literally do mean all around the world, but South America, we've got Africa, we've got Europe, we've got North America, we've got Asia, we've got the Pacific. It's really fantastic that we can reach such a broad group of people. Our partner, ECOMOS Malaysia, works for the conservation and protection of cultural heritage places. It's the local chapter of the only global non-governmental organization of this kind, which is dedicated to promoting the application of theory, methodology, and scientific techniques to the conservation of the architectural and archaeological heritage. As a network of experts, it benefits from the interdisciplinary exchange of its members, which includes architects, historians, archaeologists, art historians, geographers, anthropologists, engineers, and town planners. The members of ECOMOS contribute to improving the preservation of heritage, the standards and techniques for each type of cultural heritage property, buildings, historic cities, cultural landscapes, and archaeological sites. Think City Institute is a knowledge repository and capacity building organization based here in Malaysia with a focus on solving urban issues, making our cities more livable, more sustainable, and more resilient. While we're based here in Malaysia, we see ourselves as regional in outlook, looking to solve those problems that blight our cities, but through a Southeast Asian lens. We work with international and regional organizations to bring best practice and new solutions to our city makers in the region. Now, before we start, I want to give you some basic housekeeping. Our format will be a presentation by our speaker, and then that's going to be followed by a Q&A session. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions, and you can do that in the chat box that you can see at the side. So even if you don't have a question, please join the conversation and tell us where you're listening in from. And it's probably better that you get your questions in early. You've got more chance of them being asked. Before we go on, if you have any connection problems, click the reconnect button that you should be able to see at the top of your page. And if you're still having problems, then try refreshing your browser and you'll be brought back into the room. So I'd like to invite my good friend Mariana Isa from ECOMOS Malaysia's Developing Professionals Group to moderate tonight's talk. Good evening, Mariana.
Good evening. Thank you, Duncan.
Yeah.
How are you?
So good. Let me just do a quick intro on you. So Mariana is an architect, historian, and author who's played an important role in bringing our shared heritage to people's attention with her books, her city walks, and her talks. Her books include The Towns of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur Street Names, and Between the Bay of Bengal and the Java Sea. She's a co-founder of Heritage Output Lab, and somehow she finds the time to be an honorary secretary of ECOMOS Malaysia. So thanks for joining us, Mariana, and I'll pass it over to you to moderate tonight's session.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you again. Well, hello, everyone. It's such a lovely evening today, and we're super pleased that you're willing to spare your Thursday night to be with us. As mentioned, the Cultural Heritage Dollar and Cents series is ECOMOS Malaysia's first collaboration with Think City Institute. And we have with us here today a special guest, Mr. Shin Tseng, who will be talking about his team's urban regeneration efforts in downtown KL. Now, if you don't know him already, I can assure you he is one hell of a visionary. This architectural designer was recently recognized by Generation T as one of the 400 leaders of tomorrow who are shaping Asia's future. Now, his involvement in placemaking and community building goes way back to the 1990s. I'm sure most of you know of Geographer's Cafe at Jonker Street, Malacca. Well, his family runs it, and using the cafe as an anchor Tseng began to test out his own social and lifestyle experiments in heritage branding and placemaking. And fast forward 20 years, his latest venture, REXKL in Jalan Sultan, Kuala Lumpur, has been turning heads. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Shin Tseng to show himself on screen and begin his talk entitled REXKL in the Making. Tseng, are you there? Okay.
Shin, please go ahead.
I think Tseng is the volume's a bit. Could you increase the volume?
Can you hear us? Okay.
Sorry, guys. Slight technical problem.
Sorry, everyone. Please be patient while we just try and sort this problem out.
Yeah. Shin, could you just check? I think you're muted, so we can't really hear you. No. Well, while we wait for that to be sorted out, I think it's right there. Well, Shin, as I mentioned, he's an architectural designer. He, apart from REXKL, he also runs a, what do you call, like a design studio called Idea Works, and some of his works are actually award-winning. Let me just check with Shin if or his files maybe not working. Hold on.
Hi, Brenna, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, but you have to switch on your video.
All right.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, okay, now it's all good. So I didn't say much about you. I wanted to go on and on, but then I thought, shut up.
Sorry about this. It's the first time I'm using this. So.
Yeah, no worries. So I'll leave the session to you. Yeah.
Cool.
We're good to start. Okay. Bye.
Bye. See you later. Thanks for having me this evening. I think I'll just jump right into it. So as Brenna introduced me as one of the co-founders and CEO of REXKL, just a quick introduction of who I am and why I'm so in love with his historical building, and perhaps, I mean, also through this sort of journey, I discovered myself or finding some purpose in rejuvenating old buildings like this. So it goes way back to when I was in Malacca. So on the left is Petaling Street. As you know, REXKL is within the Petaling Street area. And on the right is Heron Street, where I spent a lot of my time as a kid growing up in Malacca. And why I'm drawn to this sort of projects is because one of the earliest projects that I did with my father back in 1990s, 1998, 7, 8, with his partners. It's called Geographer Cafe on Jonker Street. Back then, I was in the first or second year of architecture course with a bit of a naivete. You know, I thought we can work on this project. Of course, back then this project was designed by was handled by KHP Architects in Malacca. I was pretty much as a client, as this is my father's project. And as you can see, it was quite a dilapidated building back then, but it was one of the greatest places for curry rice. I spent a lot of time here after school, and great memory on this street. And you also can see, this is probably in the 90s on the left, what Jonker Street used to be. It was full of funeral parlors and traditional trades. And this is after Geographer Cafe opened its door in 1999. And as you can see, it's still a pretty quiet street as compared to Jonker Street today. So I'm in a bittersweet sort of feeling when I go back to Malacca today and seeing how it's been gentrified. But it's almost 21 years ago. This is the intersection where Geographer is. And growing up as an 80s kid, a 90s kid, we were promised that, you know, Malaysia will be almost a very advanced country in 2020. And it is quite crazy to think about. It was already a past future tense, as in it was a future that were promised back in 1993. This is the vision of Wawasan 2020 put out when I was a teenager, is what KL was be. And also as a 90s kid, I was drawn to this dystopian future. And I guess the dystopian future won as we witnessed COVID-19 last year, how it emptied the street and created this eerie sort of scene from this sort of cyberpunk movies. So just to go back to Petaling Street and Jalan Sultan, why I was drawn to it, and as you can sort of draw the similarities of the context where I grew up, and when I came to KL and saw these sort of familiarities of shop houses, pre-war shop houses, huge, you know, mix of diverse trades and communities in Petaling Street area. And why did I bring this up is because I was, as a young graduate architect, I was drawn to this kind of future. But when I came back to Malaysia, I realized we have a big gap, and that's a huge work to be done for us before we even talk about being a first world country. So we found a building on Jalan Sultan with my partner and I, Shin Tseng, who owns Meta Design. We found Rex Cinema on Jalan Sultan, and we thought this is amazing building. And a lot of us, or a lot of you perhaps have memories back then. I think Mariana told me that she was watching a movie here with one of her first boyfriends. Sorry. And okay, this is one of the research great piece done by Mariana. And there's an archive of how a single screen cinema was designed just to cater for 1,200 cinema goers back then, and it was single screen. It's unimaginable because everyone's having a screen nowadays. And just imagine back then we have to go to the cinema, sit together with 1,000 people, shoulder to shoulder, to watch one movie. And it feels pretty nostalgic looking at these photos, and I can almost smell some So this is how it looked like in 1993 when Wawasan 2020 was proposed. It was rebuilt because after the first fire as a 4-story building nowadays. And this is how it looked when we found the building. It was a hostel after Golden Screen Cinema moved out. And as you can see, they leveled out the floor and they it's quite dilapidated. And it's also sort of an alternative housing for different communities, be it the migrants and some local families. So it was occupied, behind closed door by many people. And we took over the building and we decided to have a makeshift signage on. And this is how it was when we demolished the rooms in the cinema hall itself. So it was where the hostel is. And as you can see, half the ceiling was demolished. And that is where this is where the hostel rooms are. This is the first time that we rediscovered the space of how the cinema once looked after we cleared the site. It's back in 2019, early 2019, and we discovered the safe in the cinema. We thought this is our first funding, but we still can't open it yet. And it's pretty dangerous as well because there are a lot of illegal extension. For example, this floor just collapsed when we do some small hacking. As this is our first makeshift logo, a signage for Rex Cinema. Inherited the name Rex Cinema, and we want to have a memory of the space of the place. And this is overlooking Jalan Sultan at night. And also pretty makeshift. During the demolition, we had first event, which is a Chinese New Year flower market. Also using existing construction scaffolding, and we did a market out of the scaffolding. And that's the first time we received public to this space. It was early 2019, and then we closed the door again. We reopened in in the same year, July, August, and we have Fred Perry from UK had as a pop-up store, and of course they threw amazing parties in the space. It's sort of our test bed for the structure, as we couldn't really afford a civil engineer back then. So we had a few parties just to see how strong it is. But of course, the structure was well designed to house 1,000 people, so we're not really too worried about it. And later on, Destination Good by Asia Foundation moved in. So what REXKL is we envision this is a space to foster opportunities, to galvanize action, and to profile the city so that local and visitors alike can access, experience, and enjoy Kuala Lumpur creative scene. And at first, we really wanted to inject this creative energy into the Petaling Street area and Jalan Sultan. So all the events that we created or curated or co-programmed leaning towards creative and cultural agenda. And we were selected by British Council as one of the hubs for good. As is quote, creative hubs play a vital role in supporting creative entrepreneurs and businesses. As conveners of creatives, hubs serve local and communities and connect creative practitioners. So this is really the space that we would like to create. This is one of the earlier cross-section of how we envision the space. As you can see, this is quite a huge space sitting in the middle of downtown Kuala Lumpur. Having this volume is just quite amazing, and there's a lot of potential, as you can see. So on the right-hand side is the access from Jalan Sultan. There's a grand staircase leading up to mezzanine floor where the ticket booth once used to be. And on the ground used to be the parking space for the cinema. And as you go up, there will be the actual cinema hall with a mezzanine above, which you pay perhaps a ringgit or two more to go up to this VIP area, what they call class house, special class. And further up on the right-hand side, the rooftop area was where the projector room once used to be. And there's also some hidden spaces behind the screen where they house the compressors for the aircon. So if in a glance, it actually has a lot of interesting pocket spaces within this building, and it's almost like a micro cities of its own. So to simplify what REXKL is into 5 pillars. We would like to revive the place, elevate the people. We do crossover with partners, and we share knowledge through programs, and we would like to be the leader of purpose. And we simplify it into these 5 pillars. That's sort of our North Star in our day-to-day running, how we operate the place. So to dive into the place, of course, we cannot forget the context we sit in is Petaling Street area, and it has a long history. It has a lot of heritage, and it is actually itself is a hub for commerce and history. So how do we respond to that? Is that we don't want to be another competitors with our communities. We would like to create a hub that can play the role as a catalyst to this micro economy within Petaling Street. So we adopted placemaking as our principle. So we look into how can we place make by engaging community, by engaging the immediate neighbors into making REXKL, or perhaps in a greater vision in remaking downtown Kuala Lumpur. So a place should be a hub where it connects people and have communities interact. So this is perhaps a bit academic, but you can easily find it online. It talks about the wheel of placemaking, how it responds to different social economy and environment, and how to have a practice that is sustainable and how it be responsible to social. So this is REXKL 1.0, that's what we call it. We started with the cloud kitchen and food hall on the ground floor where the parking used to be. And this is all because, of course, images from pre-COVID. We have designers kiosks, we have bazaars, and there's first natural wine bar, and we have pop-ups, we have vintage stores, design store, bookstore, weekend markets, rotational kitchen that enables entrepreneurs to come and test their business. Of course, retail, coffee bar, beer bar, and of course the event hall that we have done a few concerts and music events. So as Star Lifestyle quoted, REXKL, an old iconic cinema reborn into a unique art and culture hub. We honored that they call us what we do is action to redefine an icon. But what we really want to do is focus on people, because there's no place without people. So the community comes first. And when we took over the building, there's this they have a nickname of the Scissor Sisters. So they've been here for 40 years, sharpening knives and scissors, and we give them a space within REXKL to continue their trade. And there are people from all around Kuala Lumpur, even from Kampong and Cheras, and still come into REXKL just to look for them, to sharpen their knives and scissors. And of course, in the events, we always focus on local talents and Kak Jamila is one of a proud example. It's a blind photographer who did a photo booth with us during the Chinese New Year flower markets. So we create a market for entrepreneurs, market for people to enjoy local talents, local shows. We created a platform for different artists and talents to come and showcase their music, their performances, and entrepreneurs to test their businesses. So we also created some sort of incubation for local trade. Bunching is one of the examples. When we, first coming into downtown Petaling Street, there was no more dim sum in Chinatown, and we were asking this question: why there's no dim sum in Chinatown? And we found out that Bunching is actually the fourth generation of dim sum makers, but they resorted to only selling egg tarts back then, and we give them a space in REXKL, and 7 months later they graduated into proper shops on Lorong Banggong. And also during the lockdown, we also enable a platform to showcase the community within REXKL to have online classes, workshops, so that they still stay relevant even during the lockdown. And we also created online shows. We moved the music from the event hall online so that the music carries on. The show must go on. So in a nutshell, this is what the ground floor look like. It's quite vibrant with multiple brands from F&B to retail to social enterprises. We are also moving upwards. So there will be a new bookstore coming in, but due to obvious reason, it's been delayed. Book Access is joining us as a new partner to take over the mezzanine floor in the cinema hall. Their vision is to create an iconic building in downtown Kuala Lumpur. And if you remember, this is what the cinema hall was, and Book Access will be occupying the mezzanine floor. And the vision is to create this reading square within downtown KL. So it's not really a bookstore, but it's like a bazaar, like a piazza for people to sit down and read books and perhaps have a cup of coffee. So partnership is what we think would be the success source for this project, for this kind of project, is by collaborating with others. Because with these partnerships, we can leverage on each other's strength, and with the very limited resources, we manage to do many things. And social enterprises are 50% of our focus. As I showed before, the Asia Foundation, we have blind massage within the space, and Asli Barber is a barber school that teaches orang Asli, give them skill to be barber. And creative enterprises, we have hosted film festivals, Urbanscape, Ainyala, which is a lighting installation within this space, and all these are done, of course, with NGOs like British Council, Think City. This is one of the interesting programs we did while we took over the cinema, and we thought that we haven't got the cinema to screen the film, so we took the cinema out of REXKL and screened it on the street, and we call it Backlane Cinema with a KL in capital. So this is one of the programs we did with Think City, and of course Japan Foundation bring cultural show into the space. And during COVID lockdown, we rebranded the ground floor and we called it the background. The idea is to conglomerate all the vendors we have on the same platform. And also during the time, we started a local farmers market, and we brought food from different parts of Kuala Lumpur and introduced it to our F&B vendors. and also to our visitors. So the background is really to empower and enable entrepreneurship, and that has always been our vision, how we can partner up with entrepreneurs and how can we help each other to create a new business within a space. And I think it's quite relevant to this topic, dollar and cents, because the program is where we bring the sense of belonging to this place, and from there we create microeconomy that brought the dollars into the space. So the programs are obviously another form of partnership. For example, Made in Malaysia Festival was a collaboration with Asia Foundation, and it's focusing on what makes Malaysia, Malaysia. And we bring people together to share ideas. We have multiple talks, events, workshops, performances. And these are just a glimpse of what we have done before lockdown. Of course, we have live music, and it looks like ages ago when we can have so many people in one space. So art and design, of course, is at the spine of our project, as most of us are architects. And we also incorporate wellness into the space by inviting Lululemon in, having this mass urban yoga session. And of course, student exhibition that we sponsored so that they're within this community. So through programs, we have reached maybe perhaps now more, 100,000 visitors and 500,000 reach on social media and media. And we have done more than 100 events since we opened our door in September 2019. So of course, all this is driven by a purpose. We talk about community, we talk about placemaking, we talk about the practice that leads to sustainability, and we capitalize on our network, and is also part of the city branding of Kuala Lumpur Greater Vision to become a creative city by 2030. And all this couldn't happen without the creative capital we have in this city. So if we talk about from cents to cents or cents to dollars, it's really about how we grow the community and provide a safe environment. And at the same time, we provide a greater sense of safety in this area that is riding on the city branding, which what makes Kuala Lumpur, Kuala Lumpur. And through collaboration, we tap into this creative capital in the city. So that is the actual purpose that we're trying to, that drives us as REXKL. So we would like to preserve and promote local culture through city branding, because I think if you noticed the slide earlier on, REXKL can be dissected into REXKL, and we're also having this REXKL as our tagline, where we always believe that we can always reimagine KL or relive KL. I think that's part of the city branding that we'd like to work on. Of course, we are just one of the components within Kuala Lumpur. That's why collaboration is extremely important. Enhance economic viability and community development through placemaking, and we empower entrepreneurs and social enterprise to build their brands. So creative capital is something that can live on. Is unlike a space or a place, creative capital can move around and can expand. That's what we truly believe on. By having a catalyst or incubator, we are actually growing the creative capital within Kuala Lumpur. And one day, say 10 years from now, REXKL might come to an end. Touch it, but who knows? But the community that we created will live on and that's what we are really believing in. Banchin is a good example that how he revived from a kiosk into a store in REXKL and now a shop on Petaling Street. So that brought us to REXKL 2.0. As you see, the ground floor was the part that's in gray, and we are moving upwards where book access and the new event hall and the rooftop space would be. So we are still in the making, hence the title REXKL in the making. This is a 10 years project, and we are now only the first and second year. Unfortunately, there's a pandemic going on, but we have repivoted towards F&B right now. But fortunately, with the creative capital we have, we managed to thrive on. So we're also having a crowdfunding campaign going on, because we, as part of the plan, is to make this place a truly community-owned project by 2025. So from now on, we have opened up our shareholding to people who believe in us, who want to be part of this downtown movement. You can pledge through pitchin.com to be part of this REXKL community. And thank you.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Well, thank you. So I guess thank you, Sing, for giving us an insight to what's going on at REXKL. And then coming up next is the question and answer questions, and there are a few questions already. And as we only have about 15 to 20 minutes or so, I have to apologize in advance if we aren't able to address them all. But before we take the questions, I just want to say, going back to Rex as the cinema, Rex Cinema, I think movie going back in the day was a totally different culture. Every visit to the movies was exciting. You never know what to expect. And I'm sure all the pre-Cineplex generation have fond memories of cinema such as Rex. And I just wanted on record that apart from my boyfriends, I did also go to Rex with my parents and uncles and aunties, so very PG-12. And another thing that I think you forgot to mention is that Rex, the site itself, has always been an entertainment spot in Kuala Lumpur since the 1880s. You know, since Kuala Lumpur became the capital of Federated Malay States, and having this sort of program or injection, it's not much of an injection. I mean, it has, that spot has always had that energy for more than 150 years. And then when the building burned down, I think myself as a Kuala Lumpur girl, I did feel a bit of a void, you know, because it was not the Rex, it was not the Jalan Sultan I knew anymore. You know? It was a bit sad. And I see these, the things that you're doing or trying to do. I mean, I've gone back to Rex more than I had since, you know, the 1990s. So, okay, well, I'll take some of the questions. Let's see. So, okay, former tenants. So there were some migrants and the backpackers and all living in the building above at the upper level before you guys took over. So Vaughn and Queenie are curious about what happened to them.
Yeah, so I think I skipped that part because I was rushing, right?
Yeah, no worries.
So it took us almost 9 months to have a possession of the building, and deal with the landlord is that we will take the building as it is. So part of the program we did was to relocate them as humane as possible, and it was very complicated because it was tenanted to multiple two of the main tenants, and then sort of went into multiple subtenants, and with the help of the landlord, we managed to slowly relocate them. So they are now in various places, also still on Petaling Street. Yeah.
Okay, so they are still in Petaling Street, and I believe they're friendly because I think I bumped into them a few times.
Yeah.
Now, so apart from them, how about the Petaling Street community? How have they been responding to your presence?
So I think the first Chinese New Year flower market was a good PR exercise, because we sort of brought the place back to life with a lot of Chinese programs, and the neighbors loved some of the artists we brought in, and they really enjoyed the market. And then throughout this period of time, we actually built some friendships with them. Of course, this is not an easy process. There's always this tradition in Petaling Street where people don't really care about each other. I think it was quite different back then, but in the 80s and 90s, it sort of changes. It changed to a very capitalized society, and then later on, you have a new wave of immigrants coming in, and you have this mix of diverse communities. So I think it's quite a complex question, because we're not talking about a single stakeholders or communities here. It's really a downtown Kuala Lumpur communities.
Because I think you're right, because in the 80s and the 90s, I remember there were a lot more families. The neighborhood was much tighter.
Yeah.
I knew of some people who lived there for generations, and then of course, as time goes by, they all moved out and living their own life.
Yeah.
So that question was actually from Leah, and let's see, Jess Aliv asked about whether there were complaints about noise, crowds, and uneven competition from the new businesses. But I don't know. I don't think that's happening. But what do you think?
As I said in one of the earlier slides, we really want to foster a new energy into this part of town, and we want to bring young people back to Petaling Street. And as you can see, for a long time it was a tourist sort of destination, and it's kind of lost its charm for locals to come back to this part of the city, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the guiding principles is that we don't want to create competition. We would like to be part of the ecosystem, and that has always been our sort of values running the place. And it sort of shows, and in this exercise, they value what we do, because we brought a huge crowd back to Petaling Jalan Sultan through the events, and it has a spillover effect. And they also see the benefits from this by having this kind of hub in Petaling Street or downtown.
Okay. I can vouch for that, because I remember there was this one drink stall right in front of REXKL, and you guys were just about to come in, and the stall owner was asking me what's going to happen here, and I said, oh, maybe some cafes, or no, you will, the team will clean it up and all. And he was so happy, and the first thing he said, oh, that means there will be more people here coming here. And I think the drink stall is still there, a Malay stall owner.
It has changed,
and, okay.
But I think this is a great question, because REXKL is a very open space, right? Before COVID, we literally have no walls. You can enter into the building from multiple side lane, you can from front lane and back lane. So it's really an open space for everyone, and we call ourselves an urban living hall. So we're not seen as another business. We are more like a void or plaza in the city, if you will. Yeah.
Okay. So when you go to Rex, you actually don't really realize it's there, because the facade's still very bare. It's still very basic. Is it intentional to kind of hide, to kind of not really put yourself out there? That's
our official statement. Yeah, our official statement is that it's intentional, but the real situation is we don't have the money to do anything, so we just left it.
Okay, maybe that's good. I mean, that's not good for you, but maybe good for, good for the area. I don't know.
As a historical building. So yeah, we love the patina on the wall, and we love the history on the wall. Even in the hall, you still can see the fire marks on the wall, which we found quite romantic, to be honest.
Yes, and the original mosaic too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. Vaughn again. Just how and who selects the businesses that rents the space in KL? She would like you to elaborate a bit on the difference between the way REX rents out the space compared to the conventional market.
I think this is quite personal, because it's basically the CEO and COO of REXKL. We give ourselves fancy names because we've been doing the legworks all the time, and people sort of become our friends, and then they sort of forget that we run the place. So now we adopted a new title just to manage this place. But basically, it's me and Shin Tseng. So how it works is we really run the place like a family. So we chose people that we really believe in, entrepreneurs that we think has potential, and people can gel with the vibe of REXKL. I mean, it looks like a big space, but actually it's not. So we have to be really sort of careful with the tenants that we or the partners that we bring in that fits the whole narrative. So yeah, I guess it's very personal. There's no protocol, there's no checklist, and recently we have also invested into, as REXKL, invested in some of the businesses, just because we see the potential, but also because of COVID, we are having difficulties. So we're now gearing towards a partnership model. So we are also part of the, we're one of the business owners. Whoever is in REXKL, we treat it as our own business. That's how we help them with marketing. That's how they help us with their followers. So it is really like a family, and we created some sort of synergy through this model. It is still in a work in progress. We don't know. We don't have an exact model or formula, but we're experimenting.
We're still experimenting.
Yes,
still experimenting. Yeah.
And yeah, this is part of placemaking, right? It's about being agile and adaptive.
Yeah. Well, how about I mean, the two of you, the Shins. How does Shin Tseng feel about what strikes me is like the both of you have architectural background. So does any of the creative, are there any creative struggle between the two of you?
Yes and no. Only comes to food, I think, because we have different preference for food that sort of decides what kind of food vendors we would like to have in the space. But in general, we are quite people call us brothers because we are always together and we really click as partners. And I think we found a harmonious position for both of us to be within the same space. And we also sometimes forgot that we are trained as architects. So we look into a spectrum of business and how we actually run the place and make it successful. So with that common understanding, we don't have a lot of ego in the process.
Okay.
I think it's by having this greater vision of making REXKL the place to be on Jalan Sultan really is driving us towards forgetting about personal preferences. We are working towards a common goal. Yeah.
Yes. And okay, back to the economics, the dollars part. Wei Yan wants to know how much it cost to revitalize and refurbish the building back in the early 2009. And then after that, maybe you could address Johan's question about the source of funding for the CAPEX, as well as annual operational costs. Like, how much does it cost to run REXKL annually?
Great.
So there's two questions there.
Yeah, great question. The first one is how much does it cost to rebuild a place?
Yeah.
Nothing. That's not true.
Because it's in phases.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not true.
It looks like we have done nothing, but actually everything costs money, right? Even chucking away, all the debris from the construction or previous construction costs us a fair bit. But we also, that's why we need to be really creative when it comes to this. We have a lot of makeshift. We have a lot of partnership with contractors through our other projects. I think we have to look at this whole building exercise in a different angle when we are actually the clients and we are also the owner of the place, and also the designer of the place. So it's sort of like fixing your own house, if you will. It's like, okay, we have money, let's do a bit more. This is the earlier funding we had. So this ties back to the earlier funding question that when both of us went to seek the angel investment from the Kongheng group from Ipoh. They are the earlier funders, and we are all equal partners now. So everyone came up with capital, whatever we can, and we have some loans from the investors. So yeah, does it answer the question? Because
no, not really. Like, I think they were looking more about the range, maybe 100,000, 500,000, a million, or 100K. But I guess if that's PNC, it's fine.
All right, just give me the idea that so far we have spent almost 4 to 5 mil.
Over 2 years.
Yeah, since we started, and now we are going through the crowdfunding. So I guess that is the to answer the question of perhaps a bit of OPEX to keep the place running. That's why we pivoted towards F&B. As we all know, food is the drivers for any place or any space in Malaysia context, right? So the food component is the one that breaks even, that allows us to do more things. That's why we recreated the ground floor as the background, adopted the nickname at the back on the ground of REXKL. But the idea is to really conglomerate the whole F&B components as one, and retail as a plug-in, as a brand. And this is also with a vision that eventually we can bring this out, going back to the creative capital, that we can also bring this out of REXKL. So we are not just depending on the place, we are also having some sort of brand or business that we can venture out from the space. So yeah, F&B is break-even, bread and butter, and events used to be huge revenue generator until the lockdown. Yeah. So yeah.
So that would probably be the module or the program for the next 1-2 years, until the pandemic is over. But before that, Dr. Norwina is just wondering whether any structural appraisal was done to ensure safety, because this place, I know it got burned down like so many times.
Oh yeah, we have. I mean, it was at the beginning we didn't have any test, but later on, when we officially opened, before that we did a structural test. So yeah, we did a coring, and so it was all tested as safe as a building.
Okay, so basically what was affected was just the interior components.
Very light fire, actually. So most of the furniture was still in place, as I was told by the landlord. it was only removed later on by Golden Screen Cinema and also the hostel operator. So they were occupying the space for 10 years. So it looks a bit, and most of the spaces are not used, so it got dilapidated. But the fire wasn't too serious to start with. So most of the steel structure are still intact. Just have some burn marks on the wall.
Okay, well, we have one question from Gabriel. So he's wondering about the usage of the word elevate. I mean, so the objective, what is REXKL actually trying to elevate? I guess the place, elevated from being a dead place. I don't know. What did you mean by elevate just now?
I think to elevate something from beginning is quite easy. As in, when we took over Rex Cinema, it's very easy to elevate the place or the space from what it was before. I think to continuously elevate the place or the community is the long-term sort of battle. So that's why we have programs that step in to do that part. I think what we're trying to elevate is really I don't want to say it as in we are playing a role as a city maker, but I think KL does need a place like this, especially in this part of Kuala Lumpur, to sort of elevate the image, so also elevate the community that within REXKL. What it means is to be part of it so we can grow together and we can be better. So that is what it really means. We just want to be better in every angle.
Okay, so you're looking at REXKL as a long-term project.
It is a long-term project. I mean,
okay, well, I think we have to take the last question, unless there are more. Another one from Gabriel. What is your opinion of Link? I think this is Link KL on Jalan Tun Razak. Do you think if REXKL followed the Link model, it could make Rex more sustainable in terms of survivability?
I mean, we wish we could be like Link, if you know the backers behind Link. So we think essentially it's interesting that how you draw the reference or example from Link, because essentially it's a mall, if you will. If you want to break it down to the business components, we have a food hall, we have retail, we have event space. Essentially, we are talking about building a mall, right? But we use the word hub here because it's more towards a place for people, other than just being a commerce-driven space. So, yes, I mean, if you look at it, it's really not that much difference, except we don't have huge backing behind us. So we got to be really hands-on, and we have to really work with the real community, the entrepreneurs that are in. We are very flexible when it comes to leasing terms, because we are focusing on the people and also the business rather than whether or not they can pay rent. So that sets us apart from being other commercial spaces. We are proud that we are actually an incubator or incubation for businesses and individuals who have a dream. Recently, we have a talk bar within REXKL. That was before the second lockdown. It was doing really well. So by looking into local ingredients, and we do a profit sharing instead of charging a rent. So that is one of the formulas that we are deploying to work with real entrepreneurs, because we believe in the business and we think that we are looking to the longer term. So rental is not a hard rule when it comes to our operation. We're looking to a long term and have the GTO formula and whatnot.
Well, I'm just gonna Oh, okay, I'm going to conclude Chow Wei-Yan and Dennis's question. Public authorities, were there any public authorities supporting this project when you guys were just about to start? Say City Hall or Jabatan Warisan Negara, although I don't think Jabatan Warisan Negara would be involved because it's not a listed building. But yeah, who were the agencies that were supporting you?
Well, we're frequent by DBKL. I guess there's a form of support.
Okay. Oh, I mean the DBKL enforcers. Okay.
Well, I mean, no. So the the mayor, the officers who often come and dine in.
Okay.
There's no official sort of partnership or collaboration. We would love to have, as we really want to be part of this Kuala Lumpur downtown movement, and be part of this ecosystem of city making or city branding, right? So yeah, I mean, we really look forward to that. But Think City has been very supportive. So I guess that's where we start.
And the local art scene, I think the local art scenes, they're quite supportive, no?
Yeah, I think agencies are really supportive, like Chindana, or British Council, Japan Foundation, Goodson Institute. This agency or institute are really supportive. I think we need to also do our part to show them that we are onto something, right?
Committed.
Yeah. Then we can perhaps work on something bigger.
Okay, so I think we still have time. Sorry, Duncan, I'm just going to steal a bit, 2 more minutes. The last one would be the last question, I promise, from Young E, because I think this kind of wraps up what you've been talking about. Do you think that REXKL success is because it's Rex? I mean, like everyone knows it's Rex, or because of the new business model? So we can see few building change use to suit current trends, but they weren't so successful. So I guess REXKL now, people do consider it successful, although you're still in progress.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean,
it's too early to jump into conclusion.
We'll still have many years to go. But I think it can be almost separate. These two elements can be, the space or the place is completely different elements from the operation or business model, but they can also be together. So in this case, we fell in love with the building. I think it has a lot of history behind, but we are not restoring the building back into the cinema. So I guess as a cinema, as it was a cinema, it wasn't really playing that role anymore. It was more like a multi-purpose space. So in that sense, the business model is what keeps the legacy going. So at least people come back to the space and say, oh, this was once a cinema. And I think that sort of fits back to the whole narrative. Yeah, so I think it's chicken and egg perhaps, but we think business model or the way we look at the project is the one that keeps it going.
Okay. Any last words you want to share with the audience here?
I mean, I think, as I mentioned before, a bit of a advertisement is that we are looking for people to buy into our equity to be part of this project. We started with 6-7 of us. There's a deck in this, I think, on the right-hand side that you can download. I mean, as part of the community-owned project, we like to have more partners that join us, be it F&B entrepreneurs or performers or even shareholders. So maybe that is something, whoever believes in this project can join us by investing into this crowdfunding campaign. And we look forward to have more shareholders. And we're also testing this idea of a community-owned project, right? So yeah, the whole journey has been an experiment. So let's try to do it together.
There were a few questions about the crowdfunding initiative just now, so I hope that answered your queries, because I can't seem to find the thread. But thank you again. The deck is shared on the files. All you need to do is click the file button and you can download. And so we've come towards the end of our webinar. Thank you again, Tseng, for your time. I think that was excellent. I do have one quick announcement to make. To those who may not know, I mean, like Duncan mentioned just now, we have this ongoing online heritage course for young professionals, which ICOMOS Malaysia and Think City Institute is attempting to do. And because it was limited to 96 participants, the good news is we will be releasing the video tutorials by the end of February. So do follow Think City Institute and ICOMOS Malaysia on our Facebook for updates. Oh, I didn't realize that ICOMOS Malaysia's FB page is just called ICOMOS Malaysia. I think my video is covering the address. And last but not least, this webinar would not have happened if not for the solid support from City Foundation. We thank City Foundation for their interest in Malaysia's local heritage, and we hope to bring out similar content in the future. I hope all of you with us today have enjoyed Shin's lecture, and REXKL is definitely a place to visit once the MCO is over. Good night, everyone, and stay safe. And I apologize again if we didn't have time to answer everyone's questions, but I think Shin sort of wrapped it all up. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Take care and stay safe.